Welcome back to the channel. You can see the Ford Powermaster in the background behind me. We're going to be working on that here, checking the timing. I think in a fairly recent video, I mentioned that I can't get it started. It's only firing maybe one cylinder randomly. And when I did the video replacing the water pump, when I went to start it back up that time, it started real hard. So I don't know if the timing slipped, but that's what we're going to check first. I pulled the spark plugs out for now. Just wanted to make it easier to crank over when I check the timing here. Below the hydraulic pump, it's hard to see. Let me get a light. You see that hole there that goes into the flywheel. There is a small notch on the edge of the hole in the housing there that you can see, and then there's can't actually see it on the flywheel, I don't think, but there's markings for different degrees. So we're going to get this to top dead center on cylinder 1, and we should be at 4 degrees. And we're going to double check, make sure. So there we have it set at 4 degrees. So the book mentions pulling the distributor cap off and verifying that the rotor is pointing at the number 1 cylinder, or number 1 spark plug wire location, I should say. So we'll check out next. Sorry, I'm probably in the way of the camera. I just can't, where I have the tractor here, there's not a lot of space to move it. Okay, so I have the distributor's pointing right to this location here, which is the wire for this front cylinder. I just need to verify that this is considered cylinder number 1. So I just pulled the distributor cap back off. I just wanted to look at something, and I noticed the rotor was very loose. It would move, it was pointing roughly at 6 o'clock, and it would move from, say, 5 to 7 o'clock. So I don't know if you can see, I just put it back on, but on the shaft for distributor is a little clip right here that goes on the flat side. That was twisted and kind of on sideways, which is, I'm not sure how that would happen, but that would explain why the rotor was loose. So we're going to put that back on here. And now you can see it doesn't really have any movement. So I'm going to put the distributor cap back on. And we'll put the spark plugs back in and see if this will start up. And then if it will, then we'll check the timing with the engine running. So let's get this distributor cap back on, and we'll get the spark plugs back in. All right, I got spark plug wires plugged back in. Go around the other side here, and we're gonna try to start it up and see how it does. Okay, so that was the same issue we were having before. It would have been too easy if that's all it took to fix it. So I've changed my mind. I pulled the spark plugs out. After seeing that we're at roughly 4 degrees timing and the rotor and the distributors lined up with cylinder 1, I'm not convinced that the timing, even if it's not perfect, it's close, and should be close enough to start it. So what I did is I pulled the spark plugs out. I held this spark plug here against the steering arm, and I cranked the engine over, and I'm getting no spark, absolutely zero spark. So I'm gonna pull the distributor out, take a look at the points. They're not old at all. I bet they don't have, I'd have to go back and look, but I bet they only have 20 hours on them. I did a full tune-up, changed everything. So we'll take a look at the points and go from there. I'll get the distributor cap pulled off, and when we get down to the points, I'll get the camera back on. All right, we found at least one issue here. You can see the points. This part of them here rides on this lobed shaft for the distributor, and it's not right on that lobe yet. What I'm seeing is that the points are not opening. So I don't know if that's our only issue, but that's definitely one. Here, I'll crank the engine over. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. All right, so obviously the points aren't opening, which obviously we're not gonna get any spark. So I gotta look in the book and see what the gap is. I can't remember for the points. Then we'll get the screw that holds them in place, get those loosened up, get them gapped correctly, and we'll go from there. See what that does. So I checked the manual. It calls for a 24 to 26 thousandths gap. It's very hard to see in there. So I have a 25 thousandths feeler gauge. I double checked it just now. I opened it up. I didn't have the camera on. I couldn't get a place where the camera could see what I was doing, and I wasn't standing right in the way. So as you can see there, I zoomed in. We've got a gap here, right there, and that is a 25 thousandths gap. So I'm just gonna turn the engine over again and just make sure that those are open and closing like they should be. Looks much better. We're gonna try putting this together again and see what happens. So I'm gonna get the distributor cap, or rotor put back on, and then I'll start. Then I'll turn the camera back on and see if it'll start. All right, once again, spark plugs are in. Wires are all connected. I didn't turn the camera on. I should have. I did check the one spark plug I had out on this steering arm again. I am getting a good strong spark now, so let's walk around and see if it'll start. All right, gas is open. We're in neutral. Give it a little throttle. So I don't know what would have caused that. The two screws that hold the points in were tight. They weren't loose. I couldn't move the points before I loosened those screws up. So I'm not sure if where the points ride on the shaft of the distributor, if that part of the points wore down. So something I have to keep an eye on. It's really strange that it happened the way it did. When I had the tractor torn apart for replacing the water pump, it ran before that. And then when I started back up after replacing the water pump, you guys saw in that video, it started kind of hard, but then ran, and then the next time I went to start it, it wouldn't. So, not sure. Glad it was an easy fix. Just took a few minutes of kind of troubleshooting going through the process, but luckily it was easy to get going again. So it's nice to have this tractor running. I don't use this a ton, but I do love this tractor, so I'm happy to have it back up and running. Hope this video was entertaining. Hope it was helpful for someone. If you have an old Ford, have any issues with the ignition system here, hopefully you got something out of this. If you enjoyed the video though, please hit the like, subscribe button. We really appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. And we'll see you on the next video.